With a plot-heavy premiere, Suits LA's antagonist abruptly makes Louis Litt from Suits incredibly submissive. A few years after Suits saw a resurrection on streaming services in 2023, Aaron Korsh is making his formal comeback with a brand new courtroom drama. Suits LA is inextricably linked to the original series, even though it isn't formally related to Pearson Hardman or any of the other versions of the business. As New York's top closer travels to sunny California, Stephen Amell's Ted Black is set to play the West Coast version of Gabriel Mack's Harvey Specter, a fact that is further highlighted by their soon-to-be-discovered past. But Suits LA isn't really any different from Suits in terms of plot. The spin-off has multiple plot lines going on rather than establishing a clear premise with the two lawyers, one degree branding and concentrating on establishing the circumstances around Mike Ross and Harvey's meeting. Ted is at the center of the three major twists in Suits LA Episode 1. Nevertheless, the breakdown of the emotional and professional relationship between Stuart Lane and Amel's character is perhaps the most important of all the unexpected story turns that 7 days a week and twice on Sunday takes. Stewart's betrayal in Suits LA is so much worse than everything that Lewis did in Suits. The complete context of what actually occurred is still unknown because Suits LA's plot heavily relies on flashbacks. In short, Stewart betrays Ted by stopping him from merging with another law firm, Railsback, after years of collaboration. It was a premeditated tactic intended to completely blindside what was ostensibly the best lawyer in the nation, as was later disclosed in the Suits LA premiere. What Stewart did was more cunning and callous than anything I've ever seen Lewis do in Suits, regardless of what had transpired before his choice. Ted is probably not the easiest person to work with. He's arrogant and even aloof, just like Harvey. Outfits. Even on his worst emotional days, Lewis would probably not enjoy a nice night with a lifelong buddy knowing that you will be essentially kneecapping him the next morning. However, LA may finally defend Stewart's actions in the premiere. Although Pearson Hardman's most erratic attorney had engaged in some serious backstabbing and sabotage, he had never gone so far as to injure Harvey and Mike in the same way that Stewart had Ted. Can Ted and Stewart still get along in Suits LA? It does appear like there is no more room between Stewart and Ted at the conclusion of Suits LA Episode 1. The fact that Rick Dodson chooses to leave Ted for his rival in spite of their current connection doesn't help either. Though she hasn't established the same rapport that Ted has with a true mentee, Erica Rollins appears to be a competent attorney as well. Nevertheless, it's difficult to see Korsh spending the remainder of Suits LA with the show's two protagonists at odds with one another. It's obvious that Ted and Stewart have a history of getting along. It will be intriguing to observe how this split affects them both in the future. Suits LA is tasked with finding a good excuse for them to reunite after their unpleasant breakup, which ultimately brings them together.